So what's
How's
new,
dad
man?
life?
Dude, it's the best. It's
Yeah.
the best. Yeah, I love it. It's so cool. I was just talking to Victor about it, like
hmm
how much it completely changes the perspective on so many things. It's so cool.
Everything
It's
on
so cool. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And
I kind of have a little less
I'm
patience than I used to.
I'm interested in what this does for you as a teacher over the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting because she's here with me all the time.
Yeah.
My wife teaches here too. So
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't
yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Over my shoulder, there's the crib.
Very cool.
Right? Yeah. So the baby's here 3 or 4 days a week and bounces all over the place. It's awesome.
Brilliant.
Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. All coffee leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffee leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffee leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffee leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast where I have martial arts conversations with my martial arts friends. Today, I sit down with brother in Kempo, Craig. Craig, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. Yeah, brother in Kempo is right. I've been doing Kempo for a real long time. I call it my home art, right? Because I'm
Yes.
very blessed and fortunate to have many teachers in many different systems, but I always try to bring it back into my Kempo in some facet or another. So, yeah, man, I'm really excited to be here. We had a blast talking Kempo at a Martial Summit last year, so this will be good.
This will be great.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. So, the first question that I have, it has nothing to do with like addressing my martial arts audience. It's actually the opposite. This is to the non-martial artist that's thinking about practicing, hasn't started yet. What advice do you give them as they start that journey?
Have fun. Right, go somewhere that it's fun. It's not worth doing if it's not fun for you because you won't stick with it. So just have fun.
This is episode like 97 or so, and no one said have fun. Okay, so we're going to start with the difficult question. If you've seen any of my episodes, you've heard it before. The question starts with an omission. The omission is, as a lifelong practitioner of martial arts, I recognize I'm equal parts sadistic and masochistic. I'm probably in the minority. The average student that comes through our dojo doors or comes to us for instruction, they're not that. So then the question is, Craig, how do we teach a nonviolent individual the skill of speaking the language of violence when it's absolutely necessary?
It's interesting because I've heard you obviously in some facet. We've talked a lot,
Right.
and so
Yeah.
but you and I have never actually talked about this before. So it's interesting. For me, I have a very specific way that I use the word violence, and that there has to be an intent behind it.
Mm.
And And so to me, punching and kicking and throwing and choking and locking and, stabbing people, if you listen to Tashi Mark's episodes, right? Or the axe with Nick, right? Whatever it is. If there isn't an anger and a desire to do harm behind it,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just an action. And so for me, as I'm teaching stranger danger to kids, or I'm teaching self-defense to anyone, right? I always say that violent has intent. And so
Mm.
I don't find what we do as martial artists inherently violent, because you should reach a level of proficiency eventually where it's not driven by emotion.
Mm.
Right. And so for me, I don't consider any of the things that we teach violent. I teach them, I
That's the
consider them,
funniest thing a Kempo practitioner has ever said.
yeah, it's not violent. It is an answer to violence. It is a response.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
when somebody's angry and upset, they're you're standing in line at the gas station and they're upset because their credit card won't go through, and they're getting mad and they're yelling at the poor 15-year-old kid behind the register who has no say over what's in that person's bank account. And
Mm-hmm.
they're yelling, how you respond to that. It doesn't necessarily mean if I'm yelling back to get some sort of control over the situation at this person, that doesn't mean I'm angry,
Mm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
and so if somebody responds to me in some sort of violent manner where they're intending to do me or someone I care about harm, and I respond back, maybe the inside block, whatever it is, right? And I break their arm. I don't consider that a violent act necessarily. I consider that a natural consequence of choosing to be violent. So
I love this definition. The use of consequence brought Kempo back for me.
yeah,
Like that's the Kempo wording
right.
right
Well, and
there.
that's it. You are allowed to hit me, and I am allowed to break your arm. Like that. If that's the game we're going to play, if those are the rules we're going to go by, then that's a natural consequence, right? It is not my fault I'm better at the game than you are, right?
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
And so I remember I was, and I know I've been on martial arts radio a gajillion times. So some stories get repeated a little bit. So I apologize.
So then,
But I was in 7th grade and I loved professional wrestling. Like I still do. I still do. I
okay.
love it.
Okay.
I love
Good.
the campiness of it. I love you outside of a Marvel movie, it's really hard to find an ultimate good and an ultimate bad in a story, except professional wrestling and comic books, right? And so there was this kid and he was messing with some of my friends and he was messing with me, and he had, probably 4 or 5 friends with him. And I was walking back inside from the soccer field. We used to be able to eat lunch outside if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was walking back in alone, and this kid started saying something to me, and I don't remember anymore. It was a couple decades ago, right? But I remember in my head going, "All right, I know what Stone Cold Steve Austin would do," right? And I turned around and I faced this guy, and I said, "Look, are we gonna fight?" Now I was maybe a blue belt at the time, okay?
Okay.
And I looked him square in the face, him and his 4 buddies. And I said, "Are we gonna fight? Because if we're gonna fight, let's just fight and be over with it."
Right.
And get past it. And the kid gets up in my face and I'm standing there, right? And I'm kind of like staring him down. And inside, obviously, I'm freaking out, right? Because I'm a
Right.
blue belt.
Yeah.
I know being hit hurts. Okay.
Right.
But I'm going, okay, well, I threw it down. Let's see what happens. And I didn't, back down. I stayed strong. The kid slapped me in the face. Full on wham. And I snapped my head back to him and I go, "Is it my turn now?" And that kid
Yes.
ran so fast and they never messed with us again, because what happened was I simply was just establishing the rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you hit me. Is it my turn now? Like, because we can do this. And I find in any conflict I've ever de-escalated verbally
Mm-hmm.
like that, I've always found if you start to put parameters and boundaries on it,
Mm-hmm.
like it subconsciously gives people what is he willing to do?
Mm.
Right? If you can punch me. If you punch me, am I allowed to break your arm? And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" Well, okay, so if you grab my throat, am I allowed to jab you in the eye, right? Like, and you start to break out these rules unemotionally, because to me, it's not violence. It's just a natural consequence of your choosing to be angry. And I think that that comfort with that verbiage has helped
Hmm.
de-escalate more, you know,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so that's my fun I got slapped in the face story.
So, oh man, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I say that as martial artists, what we have is our perspective and our intent, and
Hmm.
it's our responsibility to communicate our perspectives and express our intent. And like that sums up what you're doing there. I recently had a conversation with Adam, who's also up there at Beckley,
Yep, I love Adam. He's a
and
good guy.
we were talking about this, and the conversation kind of got this way. And it made me ask. So, the reason I'm doing this podcast is so that I can educate as many students that will listen to this as possible about how martial arts is not kick punch.
Hmm.
Martial arts is not fight. Martial arts is the other stuff, is the situational awareness that you need to navigate without having to be violent, is the ability to have the self confidence that you had to talk through that situation, even as a blue belt. I
Hmm.
love the fact that the blue belt, what you knew is that getting hit hurt.
And I'm not wrong.
You're absolutely not wrong. I think that was probably till green or brown belt for me. But so for our audience, what are other things that martial arts has given you?
I think, and I always kind of go back to the same thing. It's just a community, right? And so whether it's coming on chatting with you, right, or getting to meet you at Summit, or with Nick or Jeremy or Andrew, or even Steve Watson's texting me as we speak because he knows we're recording. My phone keeps going off.
How
Yeah.
very Steve Watson of him.
Well, as we, my Steve, just as an aside, I'm sure people have heard. I know he's been on a couple of times. He's one of
Yes.
my favorite humans, and
Same.
you've had my three crazy uncles on your podcast. You've had Tashi Mark, Uncle Tommy,
Okay.
and Uncle
Okay.
Sifu, right?
Yeah.
And so that I call them my three kung funkles, right? Like each
I
of them
like
are a
that
little
term.
crazy, right?
Yes.
In the best possible way. And when you put all three of them
Absolutely.
together, no one can contain them.
For sure.
But so for what martial arts gave me is it's just given me this unbelievable pool of people,
Mm,
right? Because a lot of times, we find as we get older, if I think about friends I have that aren't in the martial arts,
hmm.
there's very few.
I maybe have two,
Right.
actually.
Right. When you think of it that way, you go, oh, wow. I really swear I was friends with more people before,
Two,
right?
two, two. Yeah.
Right. But it goes away. And so in the martial arts, I'm sure, there are people you're friends with that you aren't as close with now. Life happens, right? That's just the
Sure.
nature of the
Yes.
beast. But at the same time, you've also met others.
Yes.
And it gives us a commonality, right? Like when I
Hmm.
met you, you were wearing the Batman shirt, you were at a martial arts thing. All of a sudden, my session had Kempo in the title somewhere. I don't remember what it was anymore, but
Yeah.
you were like, you, right? And we
Yeah.
bonded immediately. And
Right.
there's sometimes I feel like outside of martial arts context, a feeling out process of like, I don't know if I
Hmm.
like this person, I don't know if I want to be friends with this person. And in my experience in the martial arts world, it's almost always instantaneous friends,
Yes.
and I think that that's important. So, obviously, martial arts has given me a lot, right? I mean, my wife, I told you before we started officially recording, right? My wife teaches
Mm,
here.
yeah.
We met through the martial arts. My best friends met through the martial arts. When I got married, my wife and I, the officiant was one of my best friends I had met through the martial arts. Every groomsman I had met through the martial arts. My wife I had met through the martial arts, and half of the wedding reception were martial artists.
It's great.
Right? Like that was
Did,
just what it
did
was.
you have a sparring session?
You would think so. You would think
Yeah.
so. It was so funny just looking around, and I was like, wow, these almost everyone in this room, that
That's
has
good.
done or does martial arts. And I think that that's something special about it that
Absolutely.
people really you don't understand until you start to do it, right? Like
Right.
and do it openly. The first few years of martial arts, you're just trying to figure out if you're standing on 2 feet the right way. And so you're
Absolutely.
so focused inwardly that you're
Hmm.
not paying attention to all the people around you cheering you on. And that I think is it's a I don't know, but I'm assuming that if I joined a volleyball league as an adult, it wouldn't be quite the same.
Right.
It
Right.
may be, like, I don't know because I
Well,
don't pretend that martial arts is for everybody,
it
but,
is.
well,
It
you
is
have
totally.
here's why it's not sometimes. If they're unwilling to receive it or be open to it, then it's not for them.
Sure.
So
Sure.
so I know full well baseball is not for me, even though I could pick up a stick and hit a ball, right?
Mm,
I can cut through watermelon with a sword.
hmm.
I can do all these things that are similar mechanics, but I couldn't go into a baseball field and feel any level of comfort. And so, and I'm not willing to. So it's not for me. So I never take it personally when people say, "Oh, martial arts, I did that when I was a kid." I go, "Hey, that's awesome. You can always come back to it if you choose to. If you don't want to, totally get it. I hope you have fun with whatever your passion is." Right? Because to me, the ultimate purpose of martial arts is passion,
For sure.
and my passion doesn't have to be yours.
Hmm. Absolutely. That's totally fair. Also, everybody should do martial arts. But to quote
Right.
Jeremy, though, I've never met anybody that used to do martial arts and doesn't miss it. But you meet people that used to play basketball or soccer or whatever, and they don't really express that yeah, and I miss it. I wish I could get back to it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've had some experience both hats. I mean, it really depends. I think again, it's the lens we look through. You and I are passionate martial artists, so when people
Yeah,
talk to us about martial arts and they don't do it anymore, they're naturally going to say, I miss it." And because that passion is contagious.
absolutely.
That genuine
Absolutely.
excitement that you and I feel when we're talking about it right now, that hooks people again, gets them excited.
Absolutely.
There was a server at a restaurant that my friends and I like to go to, and he trained
Hmm.
a long time ago, and he's in his 60s now, and he hasn't trained in a long time, but every time I'd come in, he knew me, and we'd always talk martial arts, and he'd always be so excited to talk about it and talk about how he missed it, but that never got him back on the training floor. He just liked talking about it and reliving those glory days. So, I think that plenty of people love it and leave it for whatever reason life happens,
Right.
and I think that they can find their way back to it. I would say of if you compare martial arts to baseball or basketball or soccer like we, are kinda doing,
Hmm.
martial arts is the highest likelihood that you could continue to do it at a higher level the older you get.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, there's only so long you're gonna be able to run up and down and shoot basketballs in the court before it gets
Hmm.
much, much more challenging, that impact on your body. And, as you know, because I know you do tai chi, right? And
Hmm.
and I dabble. I always say that, and the uncles get mad at me. Uncle Tommy always gets mad at me when I say I dabble in kung fu. Tashi too, because that's where my black sash came from. But you can always pivot into whatever your body is going to allow you to do in martial arts. And I feel like that
Sure.
avenue for
Sure.
longevity is much
Hmm.
more accessible in martial arts.
Hmm. Do you say you dabble because you don't teach those arts, or
No,
is
I
it
teach
just
them all.
because
I just say
it
I
all
dabble
it
because I
all
don't like people to know how much I know. Just because I've trained a lot and I have a lot of different rankings.
that's
And
fair?
so, but if you asked me about Kempo, I'd tell you I dabble. Yeah, I know a little bit.
You tell me you dabbled.
Yeah, yeah, I know a little bit.
How long have you been at Kempo?
23, 24 years, I think.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
I
know a
have
little
a
bit.
I have a decade on you.
Yeah, that's not fair, Paul. I'm only 35.
Right. Yeah. I also almost have a decade on you there too. So, but Kempo's the fountain of youth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
as
He's a big
I
fan.
like looking at Sifu and I'm like, hey, Craig, why is Kempo the best martial arts in the world?
I remember Sifu is so funny. I love him because with Sifu Watson, you have to be humble enough to receive the not the coaching. You have to be humble enough to receive the razzing you're going to get from him. Is
That is well.
what it is.
That is
And
well.
in that razzing, sometimes there's a lesson. At least with me,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes.
Right? At least that's how he teaches me. You
That's how
know?
he teaches everybody.
Yeah.
It's all
And
story
so
based.
we were in Philly at Jenny's free training day, Mid-Atlantic, and I was teaching, and Steve took my session, and I was like, "Oh, no." And he just had the time of his life, because the way I am right now is exactly the way I am when I'm teaching. There is no difference.
Good.
There's no difference. You met me hardly ever when I'm teaching a seminar or anything. Most of the time in general, I hardly ever wear a belt. You don't see it. I'm usually not wearing a uniform of any sort, because to me, that uniform, and it signifies, and at testings or formal events I do, but for my students and stuff, it signifies it's time to learn, it's time to listen, it's time to, as the kids say, lock in, right? Like, it's time to
Yeah.
get focused in.
Yeah.
And I think that at a certain level, at a certain time, you should no longer need the external signifier that it's time to pay attention.
Mm.
And for some people, it really matters to them. And I'm not besmirching, like, totally cool. You do you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do what
Mm-hmm.
I do. But I didn't want, as somebody who has anxiety and things like that, I didn't want to always have to have my super suit on to be able to be a superstar, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And putting that on really does help. Sometimes if I'm anxious, if you see me in a uniform, you, my friend, could come up to me and be like, "Hey, you doing okay?" And I'd tell you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I I I don't hide ever when I'm anxious or nervous. I pretty much just tell people, because what I
Yeah.
have found is that anxiety is a pretty common thing. And
Mm-hmm.
if I tell you, "Hey, I'm feeling a little nervous about this thing. Let's go do this thing," I get a little bit more grace, right? As
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being the master and
Yeah.
not, having to play that character, almost just being open with it. "Hey, this is how I'm feeling right now." And that tends to help. So I don't wear the belt in the uniform most of the time at outside events, because I don't want to. And
That's a fair reason.
because I just dabble,
Can
right?
I ask when that started? There's a certain level of martial arts prowess or progression that you had to get through to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I did my first outside of, because so the school that I teach at and I run the facilities for, there's another school we're kind of sister schools with. And I would go and teach at that school fairly often. That guy, his name's Joe Acosta. He's a great guy, and he's been a great mentor to me. And he helped me along the way a lot by giving
Mm-hmm.
me seminar opportunities where I could go teach at his school and I could do stuff. And he always believed in me in that way. When I did my first teaching outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
I put on the black belt, the ripped up one that makes you look like you know
Yeah,
some
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
because I had the one with the bars, I had the ripped one, so I wore the ripped training one because I want people to, you know, and I was probably in my mid-20s, right? And
Mm,
so I was like, I had my gi on, I had my belt on, and I went out to teach this thing. And you can, next time you have Tommy on, you can ask him how it went, right? Because Tommy was there, and Tommy and I
yeah.
didn't know each other yet. That's where Tommy and I met.
Okay.
But now it was back then there were two instructors at the same time. You got to pick which one you went to. It was me
Okay.
in one side of the gym, and on the other side of the gym was this Kempo master with, like, he was like 7 degrees higher than me, and like he had been around forever. Everyone knew who he was, and there were probably, I don't know, maybe 50 people there, and I'd say he had about 42 of them, right?
Right.
But I had 8. And I was determined that our 8 was gonna have more fun, and we did. I say we did. I'm sure, not the other session was great too. Trust me, I wanted to take it, so I was kinda
Right.
watching while I was teaching, right? But that's where I met Tommy. Tommy took my session. He knew the other guy. He said, "Let's see what the kid has." He came over to my session, and after that, we've been friends ever since, right?
Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah,
Brilliant.
so much fun.
Well,
So
so it went well then.
it went. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about it. I had been teaching for a long time, but I felt like I needed to wear the uniform and belt. And
Mm,
then the next year I did that. It was a free training day. This was back before summer. It was just free trainings. The next year I went and I wore my belt and like a team coaching jacket that I had.
okay.
And so
Okay.
I had removed part of it.
It comes off as layers.
Yes. And then I think this year at Summit I wore gi pants. I'm pretty sure.
I
I
think
don't
you had
remember.
gi pants on.
I might have, or I was wearing sweatpants. It could have been either, right? I don't know, but yeah, it just progressed that way. And I also found from a running a school perspective, if I see on the information sheet that the kiddo is nervous, right? They're anxious or they're shy. Sometimes wearing that uniform and wearing that belt makes them more nervous
Yeah, yeah, okay.
because they've seen martial arts on TV and the martial arts instructor is almost always the bad guy, right? In some facet, they're either doing violence or they're super strict and yelling, right? And so sometimes when you walk up and you're wearing, for me, I'm fortunate where I have a team. And so I'm usually wearing something similar to what I'm wearing now, like a track jacket kind of thing and
Yeah.
sweatpants or joggers. And I get down on one knee and talk to them for a minute. They don't know who I am or what I do, right? They just know that this person's talking to them and is nice to them. They go do their lesson with the instructor who's wearing their uniform. Then they come back to me and I present them with their uniform if they're going to do a trial or whatever. And at that point, they find out that I'm the one who taught the teacher who's teaching them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they kind of go, oh, and you kind of watch that hesitation drop. And so sometimes it's just as much for other people as it is for me.
No, that's great.
Yeah,
That is great. So speaking of teaching, what is it like
I
to
dabble.
teach you dabble. What is it like to teach kids in the TikTok age? I haven't taught kids in a long time and I'm about to get back into it. And
It's really interesting. Little kids, because I start kids at 4 and we go.
okay.
So the way my classes break down, it's preschool through first grade. Usually 4 to 6 year olds are together, and then I go second grade through fifth grade. So kind of 7 to 11 year olds are all together.
Hmm.
I have more 7 to 11 year olds than the littles, so I break them out by experience level, like
Okay.
most schools do,
Like a
and
beginner
then I do.
advance or
Yeah,
okay.
I call it foundational skills, enhanced skills, and then advanced skills. So it's
I
just
like that.
it's about the skill as opposed to the. I found if you go to the advanced class, you get that confidence, but at the same time, you also get that inflated confidence. But when we say these are advanced level skills, it's a different feeling. And I
Hmm.
felt like that was more accessible for parents to look at and say, oh, yeah, my kid might be good, but they don't have advanced skills yet.
Mm,
So
makes sense.
everything I do is pretty carefully picked out for multiple reasons, or I won't do it. And then my teenagers are 12 to 17-year-olds roughly, and then adults. So the little kids, the 7 to 11-year-olds, they're a little tougher than they used to be, even some of the 4 to 6-year-olds. And here's why. I have found that if they spend time on social media, TikTok or Reels or YouTube or whatever, they lack imagination and creativity.
Ooh.
And here's why. They've
Uh-huh.
never learned how to be bored. When did you as a child spend most of the time in your head imagining things? When you were bored and there was nothing else to do. Well,
Right.
now that we don't ever want kids to be bored and they're constantly stimulated, they're being
Yeah.
fed things. They're
Yeah.
not learning how to cook it themselves. So then, when we do things like we play games and, okay, you guys are going to be the fish, you guys are going to be the sharks or whatever, right?
Hmm.
They go, well, sharks don't always eat fish. Like they instantly start shouting out facts as opposed to a decade ago when they would just have
Right.
fun being underwater. Right. And so I find that, we do a circle time where I let the kids have unstructured circle time for a minute. The instructor might be talking to a parent or checking the kids into class. But it's really important to me that they have unstructured social time for a minute or two where we're not guiding the conversation so they can learn how to socialize.
Okay.
We're there in earshot so we can rein it back in if we need to. And we're on the floor so that they're not being unsupervised, but we give them the time, the space to learn how to chat with each other, because that also is going away.
Yeah.
Face-to-face
That
communication doesn't happen as much. And
okay.
so I want them to know how. So,
Mhm.
but I hear the kids now talk about, "Oh, did you hear so and so is getting sued because they built this thing on Minecraft?" And these are like 7-year-olds. I was like, and they're right. Like they're talking about things that are in the news now, and it's like, you guys don't need to know this yet.
I don't wanna know it now.
Right, right. Go back to talking about Kit Kat bars or something. And
Man.
then teenagers, I have found I have a lot of fun with teenagers now. They are more mature in a less mature way, right? And here's what I mean by that. They tend to be funnier and have more mature jokes and know when to
Mhm.
employ them.
Okay.
But sometimes they're too mature for their own good and they revert back to, well, I don't like that. It doesn't make sense. I don't have to do that if and with me, I have a good rapport with all of them. So I just kind of look at them, I'm like, stop, stop.
What are we
And
doing?
and they just
Okay.
stop, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting when I think back to when I started teaching, because now I've been doing Kempo for 23, 24 years. I've been teaching for 20.
Mhm.
So I've got a really good gamut of what kids were like 20 years ago and what
Right,
they're like
right.
now. And it
Yeah.
is much different.
Right.
Not in a bad way, but it does require pivoting. And what worked 20 years ago doesn't always work now.
Right. I can only imagine. Yeah, so I've talked to a lot of people that have kids programs, and some of the things that they're doing I think are really, really interesting. I talked to one gentleman whose kids program includes a mandatory book club where they break into smaller groups. They vote on what book they're going to read. They all read it with one of the instructors, and then the instructor like has a little once a week, let's talk about what we read. Brilliant idea,
I love it.
right?
I love it.
You have inspired unintentionally that like a kid's program might need to include some sort of art project or creative project, right?
It's one of my favorite things we do here. And we started this during COVID.
You have something.
What?
You have something?
I've been doing clubs for 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I have.
I didn't know that. Like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
audience, I had no idea. I was just talking. Go ahead. This is
Well,
not a
you teed
segueing
it
for
up
him to
for me.
plug something. This was just I wasn't teeing anything up. I was having a conversation. That's it. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we've done since COVID. We started it during the shutdown when everybody had to be remote, because I felt like people needed connection in a time where
Mhm.
they couldn't be. So we had a lot of kids then who really were into Dungeons and Dragons. So we had D Club, and
Brilliant.
it meant twice a month on a Friday, and for a while it was on Zoom, and now it happens at the karate school. We block out time in our class schedule for it. So on Friday nights, our classes end a little bit early, and we call them our community groups. And so we have a Dungeons and Dragons club. We have a pop culture club where kids just come in and do different trivia games and read. We've had a book club in the past. That one ebbs and flows for kids who want to do it and kids who don't, because these are all optional. We have a game club. What else do we have? Art club. And we have a science club. I think that's it right now.
That's cool. What does the science club do?
So one of my students, she's been with me the whole time I've been teaching. She's an engineer, and
Mhm.
they do things like put Mentos into soda. Like they go out in the parking lot and they do stuff like
So
that. And they
cool.
talk about
So cool.
pressurization and stuff, or oil and water. And they use the Alka-Seltzer tablets to make lava lamps, right? Stuff like that. And so all of these clubs, they don't run with me. They run with other people who have come through the program who want to give back some way, because we don't charge for them.
That's
They're
brilliant.
absolutely free. If you're a student here, you get to come in and you get to participate.
Yeah, but that helps involvement for your students.
It sure does. I mean, I'm not going to say that it
Yeah.
doesn't, keep my
Well, no,
students.
not even from a business
Yeah,
standpoint,
yeah,
but we're a martial artist, and so it's our obligation and duty to the art to enrich the students in every way we possibly can.
right,
So
right, right. Yeah. And so it's all student led. I kind of help them. We have a team member in the building somewhere, so a paid employee is somewhere in the building, but they may not be running something. And it's awesome. And so like when they have D&D club on Friday, when they come to my class Tuesday, they're still talking about Friday's D&D club, right?
I
And
love it.
so there are times on a Friday night we could have, 15, 20, 25 teenagers in here on a Friday night just all doing their thing. And that's pretty special, I think, for a martial arts school to do. But I can also recognize I'm pretty fortunate that I have a bunch of people to do this stuff with me, because
Absolutely.
it would be too much, I think, for me to do if I was a one-man show.
For sure.
And so
For
it's
sure.
important, if any instructors hear this piece, the part that they should hear the most is have your students or have other people help you, because it's too much to carry alone. Running your business or running your school, teaching all the classes, cleaning everything, maintenance. If you have another job to help you because it's a passion project, then you need to do that other job. And then adding all these extracurricular clubs in on top of it is a lot. So having resources, to utilize the stuff is really helpful. And the first club we did was the book club and the pop culture club, because one of our senior students and instructors was an AP English teacher in high school for a long time. And then she had kids and she didn't want to be teaching during the day. And so she would come in, they'd pick a book, they'd read the book, they'd do assignments, they'd talk about it, they'd discuss it. But I mean, who better can you get than somebody who's already trained to be an
Right.
English teacher doing that service, I think is special. So yeah, you definitely be creative and out of the box. I mean, sometime, Paul, when you're in New Hampshire, you have to swing by, and you'll see we have a huge projector up it's attached to the ceiling, and we watch movies, right? The teenagers get to, we pick 3 movies, there's popcorn buckets out there, and they get to vote on what movie it is. Every time they come to class, they get a raffle ticket, throw a ticket into the movie you want, and we watch that movie, and it's got some theme. So like Christmas, we watched The Grinch, that's what they wanted to watch, and we had a hot cocoa station where they could make their own hot chocolate.
Very
And there's a
cool.
popcorn machine out there, and there's, candy and snacks, and it's kind of like a night at the movies,
Hmm.
and so that stuff, I think, in the TikTok age, you've got to do more to make your school a community center and less just a school.
I love that because that's what right now we're missing the third place.
Right.
It doesn't exist for a lot of people. Or at least down here in Louisville, there are some third places, but most of them are just parks.
Right.
It's not like a third communal place. So it's great to hear that you're being that third place.
Yeah, to me, our school, it's a community and it's a life skills center that teaches
Mm,
martial arts. It's not a martial arts school that teaches those other things. We are those first, and the martial arts is the common thread to create the connection.
I
Just
love that.
yeah, that's what I said before, how I feel, who did you meet that you're still friends with, right? Martial
Yeah.
artists. Well,
Yeah.
we're creating that connection out on the
Hmm.
training floor through a common struggle or a shared passion, right? And then, I have kids who may never become professional martial artists,
Hmm.
but some of them might write books. Some of them
Right.
might become artists or scientists. And so they're getting to not only see other passions grow, but they're getting to watch students who went from being kids here to adults earning their first, second, third degree black belt. So, a success story, quote unquote, right, in the
Right.
martial
Right.
arts world. Also finding their passion and still continuing their martial arts.
Mm, love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, they kind of remind some 22 or 23 years ago. I went into a Budo Taijutsu school. And the guy was talking to me and was like, yeah, and if you become one of my students, and I was like, I'm probably not going to be one of your students. I live almost 2 hours away. Like, I would love to work out something where I come in once a month to train type, but he was like, well, if you become one of my students, and then he took me to the back and he shows me this hydroponic table that he's got set up. And he's like, you get a bonsai and you grow the bonsai until it is strong enough that you can pot it. And then you pot it and you take it home and you don't bring it back to the dojo unless it's getting sick and it needs help.
That's cool.
And the idea of like, he's like, we're doing this because you are cultivating yourself in the
Right.
same capacity as you would cultivate, you know, this bonsai.
Yeah, I love it. That's really cool.
So, yeah, so I think that's great. One quick question, then we'll wrap up, is what do you think's next? What is the next fun, exciting adventure project thing?
Well, we've been doing this is year number 3 coming up in August. We've been doing our skill builder day kind of thing. I know you've seen the posts on social media. I saw you share one.
Yes,
Thanks for that, by the way.
yes, yes,
And the whole idea of skill builder day is that it's not martial arts specific, right? You're not a Kempo practitioner learning more Kempo. It's
yeah,
it basically what it was an excuse for me to bring all my friends in,
love it.
right? And hang out, and for the most part, all my friends stay at my house in my one-bedroom apartment, right? And we all
That
sleep in the living room, right?
love it.
And my wife spends the weekend cooking for everybody. Like, it's just like, that's the
It's
weekend. And then we decided we should probably share some of that joy. So then we started inviting students, right? And so yeah, so it's really fun right now that, last year we added a Friday night seminar and a fundraiser for a local breast cancer organization. And then
excellent work.
Saturday, we train from 9 to 4 all day and different instructor every hour. Sifu Steve comes up, Tommy's there, Mark's there. Like, half of the people we've talked about today come to this thing. And then we'll have a cookout this year. We added that. So it just keeps growing. But it's really fun for me to just kind of like frame out like, okay, this is going to be our big kind of showcase weekend. Like, this is what martial arts should be. And so that's pretty fun for me to work on and bring together. Otherwise, man, I'm just going to we didn't even talk about Kempo today.
I know, which is wonderful. And all of my students will be like, what are we doing? Why didn't we have a conversation?
Why didn't you guys talk about Plumtree at all?
Brilliant.
I didn't hear one combination 38 get thrown out once.
Well, I did have the idea, and this year might not be the right year because you're a new dad, but one year at some point in time, you and I are going to teach a Kempo seminar where we do like, let's do like 3 tactic and 12 tactic, or,
Right,
like some of the simple ones, and we teach them, but we teach the varying differences that you and I have collectively picked up, because all martial arts styles are like languages, and there's different accents and different slang that's used in different geographic areas.
right.
So
Yeah,
I like that idea more selfishly as a martial arts practitioner, so that we can have that exercise.
it's tons of
But
fun. I have a group that I work with a couple times a month. They all run schools and stuff, and my teachers in it. But it's all people from different branches of Kempo, kind of. They're all Shaolin Kempo adjacent in some way.
yes,
But
yes,
some can do a little bit of Parker Kempo, some can do the Hawaiian, right? Like, so it's got a cool hodgepodge, and everybody just gets together and they do their stuff. And oh, I really like the way you do that. I'm going to start teaching it that way now, right? Or, oh, I really like that. This group originally started as just some school owners wanting to get together and hold each other accountable to grow in business and all that jazz, right? But then from there is when I met my teacher, and then he took over my Kempo training, and we just have a blast. It's so much fun. So yeah, I would love to do that because it's fun to watch. You did Kempo and Tai Chi and a little bit of Wing Chun, right? Am I remembering
yes,
that right?
sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
see, so
sir.
your Kempo is probably going to look a little bit different because when I was doing Kempo, I was doing Japanese Jiu-Jitsu at the same time and MMA.
Okay,
So
okay.
so how I may move or what my modification may be would be different than what yours
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what makes it fun. The tongue in
And
cheek joke.
beautiful.
Yeah, the tongue in cheek joke we always make is it's all Kempo. It
That's
doesn't matter
right.
what art I'm learning, it's all Kempo, baby.
That's right. It's all Kempo. Where can people find you if you want to be found?
Yeah, you can just add me on Facebook. You can, Craig Wareham, just add me. I'll probably see a mutual friend named Paul.
That's right.
Yeah, and then most of the time, like you said, kind of this year, I'm a new dad. I've got a 4-month-old at home, so we'll see how many events I'm out and about at this year. But in future years, if you ever see me at an event, you just come up and say hi, and you're instantly my friend, like I said. So but yeah, shoot me a message on there. I'd love to hear from people. It's always fun to connect, and maybe another time, Paul, come on, we'll just talk Kempo. We'll
Just
talk about
only Kempo.
we'll talk about
Yes.
the different hand positions.
Every single variation.
Tempo. How many different ways can you move your hand? Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We'll do it.
Yeah, we'll make an episode just for Steven to make fun of. So
We should. We should. Yeah, we should do it for some sort of celebration of his. Be like, oh yeah, hey,
Yeah.
look, let's do the Kempothon.
Love it. I love it.
Do we have a moment for one more Steve Watson story? I hope.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. So Steve, I saw Steve at a hotel. We were at an event, and he gives me a big hug, and like I said, I've known him forever, and he's checking into the hotel, and he holds his hands out, and when he holds his hands out like this, it means he wants to push hands with you.
Yes.
So, and you can't. No isn't an option because he's like a Jedi, right? He holds his hands out, and you're like drawn to them. So I'm trying to push hands with him, and we're just kind of playing and goofing around, and he's not even watching me.
Right.
He's talking about the room he'd like. He's talking about this. He's talking about that. He's not acknowledging me to the hotel clerk, and he's not acknowledging the hotel clerk to me.
Yeah.
His body's doing one thing. He's doing something completely different. And then she hands him the room key. She slides him across the thing. He goes, oh, awesome. Thank you. And he flicked me away like a bug. I fell over the arm of a chair in the lobby of the hotel, and he just walked to his room. I saw him later on, like an hour later. He's like, Craig, where have you been? I haven't seen you. Yeah. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
that's one of my famous Sifu stories.
Brilliant. Love it. Craig, I thank everybody for their time.
Absolutely,
because time
my
is a
brother.
precious commodity.
Yeah.
And I also, because we've known each other in real life, we've crossed, and also this conversation, I thank you for being a part of my martial arts journey,
My
whether
pleasure.
you like it or not.
My
I want to
pleasure.
thank everybody that watched, listened, some combination of. I hope you got something out of it, especially if you're a school owner. There was a wealth of knowledge here. As always, everybody, keep kicking.